Tonight, I'm not telling imaginary horror stories. These are incidents reported by real people, recorded in police logs, written in personal diaries, spoken in whispers inside villages and towns. Some believe them, some call them imagination, but the people who experience them never remain the same again. So listen carefully and decide for yourself what you believe. Story 1. The phone call after death. In 2014, a college student named Raya lost her best friend in a car accident. He passed away instantly. 3 days later, at 2:15 a.m., her phone rang. It was his number. She froze. She didn't answer. The phone rang again. Again. The same number. She finally picked up. There was no voice, only breathing. Slow, close, right into the mic. Then she heard him whisper her name exactly the way he always used to. Same tone, same accent. The call duration showed 42 seconds. Next day, she went to the network office. They checked logs. There was no outgoing call from his SIM card. The phone had been destroyed in the crash, yet the call was recorded on her phone bill. She never changed that number, but she never answers calls after midnight anymore, because sometimes it still rings. Story 2. The woman at the bus stop, a bus driver returning late night on a highway, saw a woman standing alone. White sari, hair covering her face, carrying a small handbag. He stopped the bus. She didn't speak, just raised her hand toward the empty seat. He started driving again. When he checked the mirror, she wasn't there. Panicking, he stopped the bus and searched. No one in the bus. All doors closed. But on the dusty floor, there were wet footprints leading to the last seat. Later, he learned a woman had died at that same bus stop waiting for her husband, hit by a speeding truck. Since then, local drivers say, if you see a lonely woman at that stop, do not stop. She is still waiting, and she always boards the bus. Story 3. The closed classroom. This happened in a government school. One classroom on the second floor was always kept locked. Teachers said renovation work pending. Students were warned not to go near it. One day, 3 boys tried to open the door for fun. It was unlocked. Inside the room, benches were arranged neatly. Blackboard had fresh chalk writing on it. Be quiet in my class. But the school watchman swore that room had been unused for 12 years after a teacher died of a sudden heart attack during lecture. As they turned to leave, they heard chalk scraping. Someone was writing on the board. Slowly. They didn't see anyone. But new words appeared. Where are you going? All 3 ran. Next morning, the door was locked again. No one admitted opening it. But sometimes during recess, if students walk past that room, they hear attendants being taken inside. Story 4. The house where lights never stay. On a family moved into a rented house. Everything was fine during the day, but every night, exactly at 3 a.m., the lights turned off by themselves. The electrician checked wiring. No fault, no short circuit, so they kept a battery lamp. Next night at 3 a.m., even the battery lamp died. The father woke up and walked to the hall. On the wall, he saw handprints, small, like a child's, but black, as if made of ash. More appeared while he watched, one by one, climbing higher on the wall toward the ceiling. He heard laughing, not loud, just right behind his ear. The landlord later revealed a child had died in the house in a fire. He always used to switch the lights off before sleeping. The family left the house in a week. The landlord still can't keep tenants because lights work perfectly all day, except 3 a.m. Story 5. The call from the crematorium. In 2019, a man named Arav lost his father to a sudden heart attack. The cremation was completed the same evening. That night, at 1:44 a.m., Arav's phone rang. The caller ID showed only one word: Dad. He froze. He had already deactivated his father's SIM earlier that day at the service center. Yet the phone rang again. He answered. There was crackling noise, then a faint voice, tired, struggling, saying, "It's dark here. Don't leave me alone." Arav dropped the phone. Next morning, he went back to the service center in shock. They checked the records. The SIM was officially inactive. Still, the incoming call duration was listed: 1 minute, 12 seconds. He kept that phone switched off for weeks, but even today he says, I don't know if I heard my father or something that used his voice. Story 6. The Old Man in the Photograph. A family hung an old framed photo of their grandparents in the living room, but every few days they noticed something strange. A faint figure of an old man appeared in the background, leaning on a walking stick. Each week the figure came closer in the photograph, first far near the trees, then near the house, then just behind the grandparents. Finally, one morning, the figure was standing right behind the sofa in the photo, in the exact same spot where the family sofa existed in real life. That night, the grandfather heard someone whisper, Move! You're sitting in my place. They removed the photo. For 3 nights, knocking sounds came from the empty nail on the wall. Story 7. The hotel room that wasn't on the list. A traveling salesman checked into a budget hotel. He was given room 303. The corridor was dim. The room smelled of strong perfume and something metallic. All night he heard someone pacing inside the bathroom. Soft steps, heel against tiles, but nobody there. At 3 a.m., the doorbell rang once. He opened the door. No one, just cold air, like someone had walked through him. In the morning, he complained at reception. The manager looked confused. He checked the booking register and said quietly, Sir, there is no room 303 in this hotel. They walked upstairs together. Where the man had spent the night was now just a blank wall with peeling paint. Workers later told him that part of the building used to be a room. A woman had died there. The room was sealed forever. So what did he unlock? What did he sleep inside? To this day, he keeps the key as proof. Story 8. The Classroom That Stayed Noisy. In a government school, one classroom on the top floor was permanently locked. Students called it the quiet room, but it was never quiet. Every exam day, during afternoon silence, teachers heard chalk writing benches, dragging footsteps, walking between rows. When the door was opened during renovation, they found desks arranged like exam day, open notebook on a desk last page saying only, I didn't finish my paper. An old retired teacher later revealed a student had collapsed in that very room during an exam and passed away before writing the last answer. Since then, attendance is still heard being taken inside. No one uses the classroom now, but during lunch break, children avoid walking past that door. Story 9. The Passenger Who Never Paid. Farron auto driver worked night shifts on a highway. One rainy evening, he saw a girl asking for a ride near a cemetery. White dress, hair wet, face pale but calm. She told him the address quietly and sat behind him. When he reached the location, he looked back. The seat was empty. No watermarks, no mud, just silence. Scared, he turned around to leave. A voice whispered from the back seat, I live here now. He turned again. Nothing. Next morning, he visited the house by day. An old man opened the door and listened patiently. He showed the driver a photograph. It was the same girl. She had died in an accident 2 years earlier, on the same highway, on a rainy night, trying to get a ride home. The driver stopped working nights after that. He says sometimes when rain starts, the backseat of his auto becomes cold, as if someone is sitting there again. Story 10. The Hospital Lift. A nurse doing night duty in a city hospital entered the lift at 2:30 a.m. A woman in a patient gown stood inside facing the corner. The nurse asked, Which floor? The woman whispered without turning, Morgue. The lift stopped at the morgue level. The door opened. No one stepped out. The nurse looked inside. The lift was completely empty. Next day, she described the patient gown to other staff. They quietly showed her an entry. A woman with the same description had died earlier that night. Her body was moved to the morgue at exactly 2:30 a.m. Now nurses say, if the lift stops at the morgue by itself during night duty, don't ask who pressed the button.